All right. Well, welcome back to the channel. I just got a phone call from Joe Cunningham. Yesterday we finished doing, or whenever you saw this video, you finished seeing, we did the wheel speed sensor. So the block is ready. We're going to pick up the block and the crank and all that. All the machine work is all done. So we're going to go pick that up, and then we're going to go step by step rebuilding the motor and putting it all back together. So just so you know, this is going to be a long video because I'm going to go through everything. So it might be 2 or 3 parts. I don't even know. Okay, so I'm not rushing it. Even though we want to get to this race that we're trying to get to, I need to go get all this done, bring it up to Rob's. You'll see that in the video after we're done with this. I'm going to make an appointment with him as soon as he can fit me in. We're going to go get the thing dynoed and all tuned in, and then we're going to go test it. So, but I'm not going to rush it because I don't want to mess nothing up. Okay, got too much time and too much money invested in all this stuff to rush and then do something wrong. So, stay tuned. All right, so we're here at Joe Cunningham's. We picking up. He got everything done. Looks like everything is perfect. So, right, Joe, you did what now? You took 5. He checked all the clearances for us. So there's no reason for us to do any of that crazy stuff because these guys know what they're doing. So when I put these in, they seemed a little tight to me because they come with specs to how much clearance you got to have. So they went through it. You took what? 5 thousandths off of each side of the rod. And then they had a clearance that for the crank, right? So where the crank goes by, you can see it.
Shiny.
Oh yeah, nice shiny rods. Okay, so that's all done, and balanced everything. He notched the bottom of the block. Right, so the block's notched on the bottom to clear the aluminum rods.
Here and here for the rod bolt.
Yep, for the rod bolt. So we had clearance for the crank, but the rod bolt had enough clearance for a steel rod, but not an aluminum rod. The thing.
Correct.
I remember I had a grind. I literally ground this with a grinder.
Yeah.
With a grinder.
I have an iron block here, same thing.
Oh man! When I tried putting the crank in, the crank wouldn't.
Yeah, wouldn't rotate. Yeah.
I called them up and they're like, "Oh yeah, it doesn't come for that." I'm like, "You clearance it for the rod. Why would you clearance it for the crank?" And they're like, "Oh," I said, "So now what?" I said, "Like I send it back to you." And they go, "No, just take a grinder to it." I'm like, "For real?" They're like, "Yeah, take a grinder." No, make a long story short, we ground it down. Pistons are all done. He coated the pistons for us. So the pistons didn't have the coating on them. Nice. So we did the coating on the pistons, and then everything is balanced. So the thing will spin like 50,000 RPM, like a little. And the crank. And that's it. We're good. You got all new bearings, right? Got new bearings? Got bearings?
The bearings are in the block.
Yeah,
the bearings are in the
block. Bearings are in the rods. He checked all the clearances for us. We're good to go. So, what's your phone number if anybody wants to get a hold of you for some work?
609-254-3626.
All right? So, you'll see the proof is in the pudding. I met him through Tommy Wood with the Nova. And all the time I've ever known Tommy for years now, he broke all kinds of stuff, but I never heard him say anything like the motor, nothing, ever. That's why when he said, "Oh, just the guy that does my motors," I'm like, you know what? Let's go. So, thank you very much. I appreciate you helping me. I appreciate you getting it done right away, because like right now, anywhere you go, it's like ridiculous. Waiting for parts and you know the whole deal, so. But thank you. Okay. All right? So, we're going to be back at the shop putting this back together. All right, so we just got back to the shop. Picked everything up at Joe's over there. Nice people, guys. If you need something done from them, I absolutely reach out to them. Can't ask for anything better. Did it quick. Price was great. Everything else, so. I'm gonna unload all this stuff. I'm gonna mount that, and then we're gonna set that up on the engine stand. Bring it over and finish cleaning it up. Make sure it's nice and clean. And get ready for assembly. All right, we're gonna do the rings first. So I'm gonna be cutting rings, gap in the rings. We'll show you how we do everything. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is, I'm gonna get my tools ready here. Okay, I got a ring filer. I got a brand new wheel for it. I'm gonna install the wheel on that first, get that ready, clean this thing up, set this up right next to me there, and then I'm gonna get the block. I have all the rings and they're gonna get numbered. So I'm gonna set up the first set of rings, second set, third set, all in one cylinder. They're all gonna get laid out for that one. This will be number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and so on. Okay, so the rings are gonna get gapped to the bore per piston. All right, so let me get this ready first and we'll go down to the next step. All right, so if you've never seen one of these, it's a piston grinding. So it's a piston ring, you grind it for the gap, to set your gap. So I'm gonna put a new wheel on it, if you wanna see what that is. All right, diamond wheel. And honestly, I don't remember who makes this. This thing, I've had this forever. I think Moroso, but I'm not sure. Anyway, they make replacements. You could buy these on Amazon, online, whatever. Jegs, Summit, they all got them. So this one's filed a whole bunch of rings. I'm gonna put a new wheel on it. Start fresh. Okay, so that's the first thing. All right, so these rings, okay, because the piston showed you where there was, showed you when they were out, when they were coated, but the ring goes through, right, where the pin goes through the ring rather. So there's a, call that a landing, okay. So basically it's like a guardrail for the bottom ring. So I'm gonna go through this. I'm gonna check, see what gap. So we're gonna gap them all. Okay, they're all packaged to where they're supposed to be. We're gonna go through and check and see what they recommend for boost, what gap they recommend. I believe I wrote down what I put in it last time, and that worked out good. So, but I'm just gonna go, I think I followed, let's see, was it this paper? Gap was so to fit the file. Yep, I went by this right here. So whatever this says, that's what we're using. Okay? All right, so we're gonna go by this same setup that we had before. So if you look at that, all right, medium boost, 15 to 30. So the car made 24 to 25 before. I don't see it making more than that, but we're gonna go with that. So what they do is the top, so you see this is all the fuel you can use with it, no problem, right? And then here is the bore, top ring. It's whatever the bore is times 0.8 thousandths. Whatever the bore is times 0.8, whatever the bore is for the oil ring, a minimum of 15. Okay, so that's what we're gonna go by. So this is a 4125 bore times 0.008 on both rings. Okay, so we're gonna go do that first. Get all these set up. We'll find out which ones go where, and then we'll start putting them in. All right, so these are the rings that we're using. Same as what was in there before. Now Joe honed it for this. So you got a bottom, top, second, bottom oil ring, okay? Got this set up here. So we're gonna go one step at a time, and then we'll lay them out. I'll mark them where they're gonna go. Each one will get marked out per cylinder. So we're gonna start with cylinder number 1. We're gonna make sure that one of these, you gotta make sure which way it's facing, up. These have a groove in them. If you look at the groove real close, let's see if I can focus in on that. Yeah. So you see how it has a little bevel in it? I don't know if you're gonna be able to pick that up. It's got a little bevel in it. I'll show you where that goes. All right? Pretty self-explanatory. Just read directions. Okay? That's what the top rings look like. That's what the bottom rings look like. Up. Up. Goes up. Okay? So, just check it. Make sure. Like that. These guys are good. I mean, the directions on these are really good. If you need directions, that's what you're going to use. Okay? So let's get started with one of these. All right. You start with number 1, top ring. I'm going to put that in there, and you could see it's already
Way too tight.
way too tight. Okay? So we're going to... Too tight ain't the word. It don't even fit. So you start with grinding it to that. Okay? Supposed to be so 4.125 bore times 0.007. So we need a 28 to 29. So we're just going to put 29.
Yeah.
So 29 gap. Okay? So 29 thousandths gap. And you go to your handy dandy tool. 29, 29. Hello, that's 26.
If not, do some simple addition.
Well, no. Yeah, let's do some simple addition. See if I got it.
I think we have one with the exact.
If it don't, I'm just gonna go get the other one. No, this goes up to 26. All right, whatever. Use that 26 and 26 and let's see if it goes
And
down
3.
low enough. I don't think I got a 3 in here. Can't do that. So
So 24 and
16,
4.
16 and 13.
Or what are we doing? 9. So.
16 and 13. So
Yep.
16 and 13.
Yep.
All right. So that's what we're going with. 16 and 13 make 44. No, 16 and 13 makes 29. We're going to take this out to start with. And we're going to see how much. Like
Do
that.
you want the clamp for this?
No, it's
Hold it.
So I don't know if you could see the bevel in that. So it's using that style right there. Okay, it's got a little tiny bevel on the top. You can barely make it out, but it's got a bevel. So you're just gonna squeeze this together, hold it up against there, and you turn it. And I'm telling you, just don't go crazy.
Don't go farther because you can't put it back.
Because you can't put it back. Okay. I
And
don't mean
that don't look like a lot, and,
yeah,
but
it is. Okay.
yeah. As long as you always go the same direction, obviously, that's the arrow.
Now you can see it already fits now. Before it didn't even fit. Okay, so now it's getting to the spot where it's going to start fitting. You're like, man, that cuts that good. The old one, I could have went 2 turns. That's got brand new diamonds on it. That thing's cutting. And I remember that from way back in the day. I remember, we just, next thing you know, I had to go buy new rings because they went too much. Here, look at that. It's already got a gap. It's right there, okay? So, 1 turn at a time, boys. 1 turn at a time. Okay?
Sorry, the lighting's going in and out. The door's open. So.
Yeah. You know what I need, though? I need a little tiny file to clean the burr up.
All right.
Because once we get it close, then I'll clean the burr up. Okay, one more.
All right. Let me go get a
that.
file.
I'll do it. Well, you see the process. So 1 turn, 1 turn.
Now,
once you know, okay, well, it took 2 turns or it took 3 turns, then you can. I don't have to check every one. As long as it's got that overlap, I'll do like, let's say it's gonna
Four
do
right
3, right? And then at the end, you just fine tune it, fine tweak it. So, all right.
Other way. There you go.
Just
Okay.
make it so it's close.
I'll go get the file.
Yep. All right, so you could see we're getting there. Next step is, so now you got them where they're at least gonna fit in the bore, right? You see how deep that first one's gonna go? So you want a squaring tool, right? Like this. And you're just gonna put it down on there and square it up so that it sits about where it's gonna sit when it's in the car, when it's running. And then you check your gap. All right, so square it up, make sure it's square. Check your gap, right? Now that we're in there, gap is good, okay? And then make sure that the gap is set all the way to the cylinder wall, in case it's on that little angle or something, like you filed it wrong, but, okay, so that's 29. And be honest with you, you want it a little bigger, not a little smaller. And here's why. The reason you're putting a gap in there, you're thinking, well, there's a gap and you lose compression, or for you guys that don't know, most people know, I would hope they know why, but what happens is, I don't have an old ring, but let's see. The rings are on the old pistons, right? So when they're in the cylinder, that's how big they are before you put them in, the gap. When they're in there, the gap becomes that big. Okay, look at my finger. Compare it to look at my finger here. Where'd it go? That gap right there, okay? 50 times bigger, but you're compressing the ring down. So now, let me see if I can explain this to you. You got the ring land here. This ring, the ring land, so this is the top of the piston. The ring is sitting compressed in here. When you put nitrous or boost, or when this cylinder gets a lot of cylinder pressure, everything gets hot. So the ring actually expands. Well, it can't go anywhere because it's up against the wall. Okay? So it can't go like that and just expand, right? So you got a gap in it, so now it can expand, but it actually makes the gap tighter. Follow me? So when it gets hot, it goes like that because it's expanding, but it's closing the gap because it's getting bigger, so it closes the gap. If the gap's not big enough, let me set this up on a stand and I'll show you what happens. So going back to this, right? So I guess I could do it with this one. So here's what happens. So this ring, right, wants to get bigger because it gets hot, it expands. So by expanding, it closes its gap, right? It gets hotter and hotter and hotter and closes its gap. You don't want them touching, right? So you got enough gap in there. What happens under big boost or under nitrous or something where you find out, oh, it blew the top of the piston off. What happens is this thing gets so hot and tries to expand, it can't expand, so it starts to bend itself up. So it starts to go like this and starts to go like that because it's trying to push itself. Well, when it pushes itself, it knocks the top of the piston land off. That's when you lose the piston. That makes sense? So it's going like this, it's going like this, going like this, and then it can't go any further, and it curls up, and bang. These things are brittle and hard under boost or under nitrous or even naturally aspirated. If they're gapped wrong, you're gonna bust a piston. So that's why you got to make sure the gap is good. If anything, more, not less. My opinion, more, not less. for that reason. So, like I said, this thing said, what did we say? It was supposed to be 29, right? Actually, it's like, yeah, so, what did I say it was? 29? No, I said it was 20, yeah, 28,875. So I made it 29. You can make it 30 and you'll still be safe. Okay, you can make it 32 and be safe. You might get a little blow by if you make it too big, but 1,000's more rather than 1,000's less. Be safe. All right, so this one's done. I'm gonna check it one more time. All right, put that in there. Push that down flat. I'm gonna check it once more. That's good. I like it. So that's gonna be 1. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set that one aside. That's the top ring. I'm gonna do the same thing with the second ring, and then check my oil clearance ones. The oil rings, I'm gonna check those anyway. Probably don't have to file those, but I'm gonna check them. They gotta be a minimum of 15. And then that'll be, for this bore, number 1. And then we're gonna mark the piston number 1. We're gonna mark the rod number 1. So everything stays number 1. And then so on. Okay, so this one's number 1. Before I forget. So make sure there's no sharp edge on here. Inside and on the top and bottom. If you take a little file and just clean up, you'll hear it if it's got a burr on it. Okay, so you just take the little burr off it. Make sure they're smooth, and then you're good to go. If not, you'll be scratching the cylinder wall. Alright, that's going to be number 1. And now we go to the top groove, second groove. Same thing. That's a file. Okay, second groove. Second groove looks like. Second groove. Make sure I could see what I'm seeing here. Second groove, same thing. So the second groove looks like the same thing. Reverse of the top one. So now that one facing down. Okay? Put it in, number 1. And it also has, if you look at it, let me see if I could show you that. Right here where my finger is, there's a little dot. See the little dot? So you'll know that the dot, that's also a reference point. Okay, so I'm gonna, same thing, set this in, square it up, start filing. All right, so on this, like I said, it's got the reverse, also has a dot. Dot goes up, and that's why you don't just go filing, because now look at that one. The other one overlapped before I put it in on the top ring anyway. So now this one, it'll fit in the bore, right? So it fits in the bore, no gap, but it does fit in the bore. So you don't want to be filing this one 3 or 4 turns and then, you know, you made it too big. So now we're going to start with this one. All right, so number 1 cylinder is ready to go. Now we're doing the next one. Yeah, it's gonna... Yep.
Slowly but surely.
Mm-hmm. This is what you don't want to rush right here. This probably takes the longest of everything. To be honest with you, this is what takes the longest time. Everything else will go pretty quick.
And you show them using this?
Yeah, I already showed them all that stuff, so. I mean, I'm just doing it again. This is gonna take a while, obviously. So once I get them all done, now you got the idea how we're doing it. You got to make sure that you do each one. So if the cylinder's a little off,
Yeah, you can't
that's why
just
you
do them all on
and you don't know
number
if the
one.
rings are all exact. So you got to do them all. You got to do all individually
And then
per
keep 'em-
cylinder.
Yeah. Keep them
So
all.
once I get all that done, then we'll go on to the next step. I'll show you what to do next. Because then we're going to assemble, put the
Put the piston
rods in,
Oh, okay.
put the pins in, then you can put the
And then put all the rings on.
All right. So I'm going to work on it as late as I could. I don't know if I'm going to finish this tonight or not, but I'm going to try like heck. Because I want to get this done.
Dad gets to work on his own car.
Yeah. Before I get swamped with stuff to do. Okay, we're getting there now. Now we could get it in the bore.
Alright.
All right. All numbered. They're all gapped. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they're all ready to go. And we're done for right now. So I'm going to try to get, let's see, I guess we'll do this in stages. So up to now, I'm probably going to end this video. I'm not sure. We'll see. And then the next step is going to be mounting the pistons on the rods, wrist pin, putting the rings all on, and then we'll assemble the short block. All right, yep, so we're gonna cut this video here, because then the next step is gonna be the fun part. Mounting the rods to the piston, which is the easy thing. But then you're gonna see how to put all these finger cutters, and you'll see. Stay tuned to the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the bell so you'll know when I put the next video out. It's gonna happen soon. We're gonna get this thing done quick.